will the Canon EOS R1 or the R5 Mark II get internal ND filters? We've discovered another patent application suggesting Canon is very serious about internal ND filters for their upcoming cameras. This patent application addresses how Canon plans to reduce the size and weight of the technology, so stick around after this short break for everything we know. But first, subscribe to this channel for a chance to win a Canon EOS R5. I'll be giving one away to one lucky subscriber once this channel reaches 100,000 subscribers. Anyone above the age of 18 with a valid mailing address is eligible. Additional terms and conditions are linked in the description down below. Japanese patent filing JP 2023-160-037 Alpha was filed on April the 21st of last year, but it wasn't published until November the 2nd, 2023, the very same day that Canon made the announcement of the RF 200 to 800mm f6.3-9 image stabilized USM and the Canon RF 24 to 105 f2.8 L series image stabilized USM Z. This patent application addresses a single problem: to provide an optical filter switching device which suppresses a decrease in strength while reducing the thickness in the optical axis direction. Yeah, I get it. Patent applications are hard to understand on a good day due to their legalese. And when they're written in Japanese and then using a machine translation, well, it only makes things worse. So let's look at it again, but I've used common words. To provide an optical filter switching device, and that optical filter device, well, it's referring to an ND filter that is thinner and lighter without reducing the device's strength or integrity while it's in operation. Okay, I know what you're thinking. Yes, that's a little bit more clear, but who's to say that that optical device is a variable ND filter or an internal ND filter in any way whatsoever? Well, section 002 of the detailed description of said patent reads as follows. There is an image pickup apparatus including many ND filters, each filter having a different density along with an optical filter switching mechanism that switches the position of each ND filter. And of course it goes on further, getting into more legalese. Okay, I know what you're thinking. Just because we have a patent application that talks about internal ND filters and making them lighter and thinner and more robust doesn't mean that it's going to be in the Canon EOS R5 Mark II or the Canon EOS R1. Simon, is this just clickbait? And if you've been watching this channel for a long time, you know that, well, there's more to come and that this isn't clickbait. You see, whenever Canon or any other company announces new technologies or is, let's say, is researching new technologies, they quite often file patents, and Canon on any given day will release anywhere from 30 to 50 patent applications. Not all of them actually get approved, but for the technology of having variable ND filters inside a stills hybrid camera requires more than one patent, and Canon has filed multiple patents. If you recall, back on September the 16th, I put out a video talking about a different patent. This one here. It shows that Canon has indeed been working on developing internal ND filters for its high-end stills cameras, like the Canon EOS R1, as you can see being a larger body here, as well as smaller bodies such as the 5 series. So the first patent application that we talked about on September the 16th was a patent application to actually have internal ND filters inside a stills hybrid cameras. Again, look at these photos. These aren't for video cameras. They're not for cinema cameras. You can clearly see that these are stills hybrid cameras. And then we have this patent application filed on November the 2nd, 2022 that addresses how Canon plans to introduce internal ND filters by reducing the size and weight of the technology without reducing its strength. So how do we know this is actually going to be for the Canon EOS R5 Mark II or even the Canon EOS R1? Because after all, patent applications never identify a specific body. But again, if we look at these patent blueprints from Japanese patent 128-236, we can see that it gets up very close and personal, showing 2 different types of stills hybrid cameras. And this one here, it's a 1 series sized body. And then this one here looks like it could be a Canon EOS R5, an R6, or even a Canon EOS R8. And the reason why I suggest it's going to be a 5 series is because it's a higher end camera. It's the one that's supposed to be released next year. The 5 series has always been kind of the little brother to the 1 series. You look at what the 5 series has, it's a very professional, high-end highly weather sealed, very durable camera with only the 1 series beating that. And let's forget the R3 right now, because the R3 really borrows the same design and body construction as a 1 series. So it makes sense that Canon's going to take this technology and not put it in an R50, an entry-level camera, or even an R7 or R8, but to put it in its flagship model, the Canon EOS R1, and also is a good chance it could come out in the Canon EOS R5 Mark II, but Canon might decide to reserve this just for the 1 series. So what do you think? Do you think I'm reading too much into this? Do you actually think we'll see variable internal ND filters inside the Canon EOS R5 Mark II, or Canon's flagship camera, due to be teased in the first quarter of 2024 and then released sometime before the Paris Olympics next year? I think it makes a lot of sense. The only question I would have here is, how successful is the technology? Is it a success in terms of its functionality? But the next question is, in terms of its cost. Can Canon actually reproduce this technology in mass at a reduced cost to make sense? Because a camera like the Canon EOS R1 isn't coming from the parts bin. Everything about the Canon EOS R1 is going to come from net new parts. And at some point, Canon's got a bill of materials, a bill of technology, and they're going through that list and they're prioritizing. So, variable ND filters, internal ND filters, does it make sense? Well, I think cost and price are big factors here. Now, the Canon EOS R3, when it came out, was $6,000. The Sony A9 III was just announced for $6,000. Primarily, the 1 series camera, at least the 1DX Mark III, was priced at $64.99. And if we look at the history of 1 series cameras, they don't always go up in price. Sometimes they come down in price. The Nikon Z9 was released at a price of $54.99, $1,000 less than their D6. So there is some pricing pressure on Canon not to release the price of the 1 series that much more. But we don't know that that's going to be the case. The 1 series could sell for $64.99, $69.99, or Canon could go completely crazy like Sony did with the A9 III, raising the price by some $1,500 over the predecessor. We just have to wait and see. But the Canon EOS R1 is supposed to be the master of everything. Internal ND filters, do they make sense? Or are they just the domain of videographers? Well, no, because you see, photographers and videographers alike use ND filters to achieve certain, well, requirements or outcomes, and to be able to control that depth of field regardless of the lighting, especially if you're shooting outside in bright light, is a big thing. To actually have internal ND filters, quality internal ND filters, inside the camera where you can set the exact degree of the variableness of the filter, so that way you can reproduce the shot exactly the same every time, I think that's a big deal. I think it just boils down to cost, and I keep watching these patent applications because you never know what's going to come. And when I first published a story about this patent application, or a previous patent application filed on published on September the 16th, 2023, I was hopeful, but I was also reserved. And now that we have a second patent filing application for internal ND filters, I'm starting to be a little bit more hopeful. But again, guys, these are patent applications, and just because we see a patent application doesn't mean we'll actually see the technology come out in a product anytime soon. But if we do, I can guarantee you, if it doesn't come in the Canon EOS R5 Mark II or the R1, we're likely not to see it in Canon cameras for, well, a very long time. And one thing is for sure, Canon is announcing the Canon EOS R1. They're going to start a slow tease beginning in Q1 and release the camera before the Paris Olympics in July of 2024. The Canon EOS R5 will also get announced, and a little bit sooner, most likely in the first quarter leading up to CP+. But before I end this video, I have a small request. If you're looking at purchasing anything from Adorama, B&H, or Amazon.com, using these links here or the links in the description, it really does help this channel grow. I get anywhere from 2% to about 6%, sometimes 12% back in commissions, and that goes to help funding this channel. I've got a huge bill of materials plan for 2024. I'm interested in getting the 24 to 105 f2.8 or the 28 to 70, but I'm also looking at getting the Canon EOS R5 Mark II and the Canon EOS R1. We're also supposed to get a whole bunch of lenses now announced next year, such as a bunch of primes, 24mm, 35mm, a bunch of zooms, telephotos, and I would like to get more of those. And I got to be honest with you, when you use those affiliate links, which don't cost you anything, it really does help provide funding for this channel. This channel is not something I use to provide myself with a livelihood. It's as a hobby, it's a business where I take most of the money that comes in and I channel it right back into investments. So that way, instead of just talking about lenses like the 100 to 500 millimeter f2.8, I can actually purchase it. So when it comes to the 200 to 800 millimeter, I can not just talk to you about what I think of that lens from what other people are saying. I can talk to you about it from the perspective of the 800 millimeter f11, the 100 to 500 millimeter, and when it ships to me sometime in the second week of December, I can tell you what it's like to own that as well. I think it's very important as a channel operator to not just influence, to not just talk about it from what other people are saying, but to work with these things day in and day out, not to have it for 2 or 3 days to review. Use it day in and day out, so that way I can report to you based on my experience. And using my affiliate links, it really, really does help me. And it also prevents me from having to put those, well, 45-second spots such as quick space or quick links, whatever it is, or VPNs at the beginning of the video. For anybody who's actually used my affiliate links, especially for last week with the 200 to 800 millimeter or the 24 to 105 f2.8. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. You're doing an awful lot to help me grow this channel, and I appreciate it very much. But that's it for now. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have yourself a great week, and we'll see you again soon.